All right, everybody, welcome. And I want to welcome to the show today, Yair. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good, David. Good seeing you.
Yeah, man. Well, first off, we've met once or twice before, but we haven't really connected at a high level. So this is going to be exciting for me because knowing what you do and how you do it differently is very interesting to me because a lot of my clients come to me with a lot of the challenges and problems that you solve. So what is it that you really do, man? Tell me what you do.
So we're independent financial advisors and life insurance people. But what we do differently is we focus on, similar to you and what you do for your clients, is focus on tax efficient strategies, as well as getting very deep with clients and finding their defining moment and how they perceive money, and then basing that off strategies and tax planning so they can live this financial autonomy that everyone tries to live with.
Wait, man, that was really interesting. So you said like their financial, like their thoughts on money, or are you saying because you're trying to drill down to what's holding them back?
It's everybody. It's not so much holding them back, but what empowers them and what can push them to the next level. And that's everybody. It doesn't matter. We have clients who are billionaires and we have clients who are just starting out. We have clients in credit card debt, but everybody's trying to get empowered, and finding that moment that they can get empowered in the core of what actually they treat money and how they perceive money is a way to, and that's really what we look for. When you find that depth, it really helps to empower people and give them that financial freedom, regardless of how wealthy they are. Everybody thinks of financial freedom. I have billionaires that say, oh, if I only had another billion, then I would feel free and I wouldn't have to worry about money.
Wow. Well, give me some examples of some like how you would do that for someone, like because I'm thinking in my head like, okay, so you're talking to me. How would you help me figure that out?
So in general, there's a past story on everybody on how they got to the success that they've gotten to. So you, for example, you built something from nothing. You were working in something else, and then you went into tax, and then you built a huge agency, and you paid a lot of taxes, and then you went back into yourself to say, you know what, I'd like to go more. I'd like to do further. You weren't settled for what you were doing. That's not normal.
Are you
You're
calling me not normal?
I'm
Come on.
calling you not normal. I'm calling you not normal because if I called you normal, you'd be upset with me and you'd kick me off the podcast. So I'm sorry to not insult you, but that's very unique. It's the constant push, but the reason why you constantly push is your origin story. The reason why you constantly don't settle. You had a good life. You can make money. You're good. You're not paying much in tax, but you're making a hell of a lot of money. So you can settle on that. Why is it every other day? And when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, you were like, yeah, I'd like to do more. Most people go, what do you mean? I'd love to get to a tenth of where he's at and I'd be happy. But
They'd like to do less. People want to do less.
and and it's an amazing thing. You got all the time in the world, but you're working all day long.
That's, by the way, I mean, well, helping somebody figure that out. I mean, in the process, so let's say you meet somebody like me, or maybe not me, maybe it's the guy who says, I want to figure out how to do less. Where does that really start for you? Like, I meet you, what do we start with?
So the first thing we do is we go into a deep financial fact find and deep financial understanding of what they're looking to do. But we ask multiple questions. It's, where did you get to? What motivates you? What empowers you? Where do you spend your time? Where do you want to spend your time? And what are your goals, ambitions, and all that other stuff? But that's basic. But our goal is to find, and in the conversation, delve down into the why you're here today. What is the reason that you went from where you were today to coming to somebody like me? And understanding how they got to that path is understanding their patterns and how they make decisions.
Well, what is typically the number one reason people would say that they came to you?
Because they feel like they can't do it all by themselves, and they're looking to surround themselves with success, and they're looking to build a family office.
Yeah, a team, right? They're looking for a team that can help them, right? Right. I mean, before I got on this today with you, I was talking to a new prospective client, and then that was his mantra, like, I'm looking for a team. I'm looking for the people that can help me get to the next level, because right now I'm focusing on growing my business and I don't have time to focus on the things that like this. And it's not because this isn't important. It's the ability to delegate things, right? That's what they're looking for.
Absolutely, they're looking for scalability, and the most successful financial services professional that I know managed billions of dollars, worked with every famous person out there, said your wealth is going to be directly correlated with the five people that you spend the most time with. So you have to be very careful. Your accountant, your advisors, your financial advisors, your attorneys, you have to make sure they're quality, and you're going to be part of their energy, and you're going to give them energy. So you got to make sure those people you're very specific on who you're picking.
It's interesting. I'm working on my third book, or I guess it'd be my fourth book, but it's going to come out next year. But part of the writing process, I'm outlining some topics and some strategies. And one of the strategies I picked up when I was kind of coming up, and I had a mentor, and he came to me and he said, David, as you grow and scale, you're going to need a board. And I was like, a board? I'm thinking I was thinking I'm not a corporation, I mean, I'm an S corp, but that doesn't mean shit, right? I was like, I'm not, why do I need a board? He goes, you need a board of directors to guide your decision making along the direction. And this was probably 10 or 12 years ago, by the way. And at that time, I was still relatively young. I was in my 20s. And I was still very immature in business, meaning I didn't really know a lot, but I knew enough. I was okay, but I wasn't successful, at least by the definition I had. And he said that to me, and I didn't know what. And I said, well, tell me what I need. Who do I need? And he said, number one, you definitely need a good attorney. And I'm like, screw attorney. And he said that. And I was like, interesting. Then he said, you're going to definitely need to have a strategist or a CPA that knows exactly how to manipulate the tax laws in your favor. I said, okay, cool. He said, you're going to need a good banker. Okay, he goes, you're going to need a good financial advisor. I was like, yeah, there you go. And he goes, you get that team and you go to them for every decision you make. And I said, it makes a lot of sense. And so I didn't adhere to that at the time, by the way, because I didn't think I was big enough to do that. Today, I realize, and I'm talking about it in the book, that is like such a necessity to grow today. A necessity. It's like needed. Is that like what you're meaning by like they need that guidance, that advice?
Absolutely. Everyone has structured time on their day, but the second their attorney calls, they always answer right away. The second their financial advisor calls, they always answer right away because that's who's guiding them. And I love that people are fully unbiased. Did you lose me?
There you go. I got you.
No, I love the people that around me are fully unbiased for my benefit. So your accountant has to be fully unbiased, that you pay the least amount of taxes and mitigate as much tax and be as optimized as possible. Your attorney needs to, you could push as hard as you can, but make sure that you're always protected. And if they're fully unconditionally in your favor, that's the key. It's any relationship. It's marriage, it's friendship, unbiased and unconditional love, but unconditional giving. And that's what you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah, it's interesting because you say that, and the evolution of that for me has added 3 new players to that equation. When he told me that, I was like, that's it. And now today there's number one, there's got to be a faith component. So having a pastor, somebody, a representation of faith for you. So I thought that I needed a clinician or a physician for my health, right? I need to add that person, which I have. And the last, and this is, I mean, in some respects, probably the most important, is who you marry.
Absolutely.
And this is your board, and you go to these people. In some respects, it depends on your belief systems and things in a certain order. But if you can get these people, and by the way, I truly believe you must compensate them well. I mean, you must. My clinician that I work with, I probably give him $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Just to be clear, I already pay him that. I pay my lawyers probably double that. I pay, my banker. Well, he doesn't make shit. He gets paid from the loans, but
they're making less. They're making less and less.
What's that?
The bankers are making less and less.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got to make money is what I'm getting at. And I think that is, by the way, a misconception today. When most people are achieving success along the journey, they think they need to be cheap. But as you start seeing how results are generated, it's typically when you pay more. Would you agree with that?
100%. If I don't want to go the attorney that bills low answers my phone call right away. That means that they got no experience. They have all the time in the world just for me. Attorney that bills high is structured.
I agree with that. When I first hired my first attorney like 10 years ago, Guy was a complete jackass. Didn't know shit. I thought he knew stuff, right? I thought he knew something. Come to find out, he didn't know shit, and I overpaid him for nothing because he was really that dumb. And even along the journey, even as little as a year ago, I paid an attorney just because I needed something done, and I realized I should have gone to my normal attorney. I just didn't want to pay the fee because my guy will charge me $500 just for the phone call. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I could probably get the whole work done for $500.
Yeah.
And then I get the result, which is a document. And I'm like, this document is shit. So I call my attorney and I'm like, hey, man, I need your help. I send it over to him. He goes, who drafted this? I was like, I'll be honest with you, man. I got this other attorney because you were kind of busy. And he's like, don't you ever say that to me again. You better get your shit right. And I was like, all right, man, you're right. You're right. You see what I'm saying? So anyways, I don't want to talk about me. I want to actually bring this to light. So now that we know that we need experts in our lives, and we have you, let's say you're my advisor in essence. I come to you not only for investment strategy, but also for, in some respects, you're saying tax strategy, correct?
Correct. Financial planning, correct.
And so how does that evolve? So you meet with me, you find my needs, you do a very big fact finder. What's the next step?
So once you go into the fact find and you find actually what ticks and what empowers them and what they are looking to do. So for a lot of people, it's build generational wealth. A lot of people, it's change the stars for their families, communities, make a bigger impact is a huge thing. Then you can create tax strategies based off of that. So if your goal is to give to charity, then you put things in different types of trusts for charities, or you set up a donor advised fund, and there's a lot you can do for people like that. If their goal is to leverage their dollars to the kids, life insurance is great, but make sure it's owned properly. In life insurance trusts, if you have an estate tax need, make sure it's properly gifted, put in the right places. If you have a high income and you're a business owner, because business owners are incentivized in this country, making sure you're setting up a 401k, profit sharing plans, defined benefit plans, things like that. And as you build, you can do more and more. Try to shelter capital gains, tax harvesting, all these different strategies that you can do. Buying real estate, borrow against the real estate that I know you're a big fan of. All that stuff is great.
You definitely hit the nail on the head, man. Like everything you're saying, I'm like, yeah, not in my head. Yeah. Because that's the truth. Like everything you're saying is we need to be thinking about deeper relationships and understanding the client's needs, but then putting together that strategy that aligns with their needs, but also is aligned with the law and plan, right? So how long, if I started working with you today and you put a plan together in place, what's like the typical relationship look like? How often do we meet? What do we do?
At the beginning, it's a very heavy onboarding process. Most people, I feel like I'm meeting them every week for like 2 months. And because every client has to do, there's so much they're missing with their estate plan. Is their documents in the right place? Do you make sure that your powers of attorney are set up and your HIPAA laws everything is cleared and everything like that? That takes a long time. If you do a comprehensive plan, it's typically taking 8-9 hours in the first 2 months. And then after that, you could set autopilot quarterly. Most of the time you're meeting tax season because you're talking about like 401ks, you're talking about the profit sharing plans, you're talking about SEPs, IRAs, the whole 9 yards, backdoor Roth, the whole megillah of 529 planning and college planning. But the beginning is the hardest part because that's really where the relationship goes. Once you set that up, you build the foundation, you go from there. But I've taken a lot of business from the big wirehouses, and we're still doing 2 months of work just to get them all set up, which I find insane because they have most of the assets in the world, but they're not providing the value. But their marketing budget is really good.
Well, I mean, the truth is that when we think about like how we set somebody up, it's setting the right expectations. I actually am very similar to you. In fact, I usually tell clients when they're about to make a decision to work with us, they're like, how much time do you need from me? I'm like, well, look, it's as much as you can give me because for the first month or two, it's pretty labor intensive. We're going to meet once a week. We're going to go through, your financials. We're going to look at your prior tax returns. We're going to learn more about your estate plan. We're going to learn about your trust. And if you got any of that, we're going to establish it all. So there's going to take a lot of meetings to build it, right? And so it's kind of interesting. We have a very similar path with our clients, and our clients definitely. I jump on quarterly calls because my team really fulfills a lot of this. But I'll jump on a quarterly call and I'll get on there. And my team will go back and forth with the client. They're asking this and that and back and forth. And I'm just like, you guys are badass, right? Like if I was a client, man, I would love this, right? And clients will send me messages, David, like, dude, your team is incredible. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, the whole point is to over deliver, right?
We're trying to do for you. We're giving to you. We're at service for you, and we want to. I have an interesting thing in my world of people. I have events. We have bar mitzvahs, brises, whatever it is. I have a caterer. My caterer is the guy. You know, he said to me the first time, he goes, yeah, I'm not trying to be your caterer for this event. That's a waste of money for me. I'm trying to be your caterer for the next 50 years. And this guy's like 60. So I don't know how he's going to make it. He's not in great shape. But that's his goal. My goal, if you do it right, these clients are going to be with you for 40 years. They're not going anywhere.
That's so true. By the way, let's kind of, I understand the community thing. So actually, we should go deeper there because this is interesting to me because recently, I met a guy who does cost segregation. Are you familiar with the term cost?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so he is in a company that is it's tied very closely to the Jewish community, and that's like their whole deal. And they're very, very proper in everything they do. I mean, do you have a very similar like niche of people that you serve? Is that typically what happens as well?
We do. I'm Orthodox Jewish. I'm ex-military in Israel as a volunteer, so I do have that realm. But I've been doing in the past couple of months, we've been redesigning and writing a book and doing doing more podcasts and all this other stuff. And I found my niche is, yes, we have a lot of Orthodox Jewish, we have a lot of people around the country, but I found my niche are really the people who have gone from nothing to something, the very resilient types of people that can adapt and build and go from and never settle. Because that's really where I came from. We came from a place where we were in serious financial turmoil and money was controlling our lives. And we decided we're not going to let money control our lives and we're going to use this moment and never let it hold us back. So it's similar to those types of people. Maybe
that's interesting. Go on. I'm sorry.
It's a great market to be in. And it's because the clients that gravitate and the friends and people that gravitate around you are going to be similar to you. I really enjoy working with people who are drivers or are innovators, but the ones that, not the coasters. If they're a coaster, go to Merrill, go to Morgan. They're going to coast with you forever. They're going to underperform and they're going to underdeliver forever. They're going to go to the Scat and ARPs and they're going to go to the KPMGs and Deloittes and Marks Pannis of the world. They're going to coast because they need the brand. But if the pushers is who I work with,
happens a lot, right?
It happens a lot. But those aren't people I want to work with because they're coasters. They're cruising. I call them the at leasters. I'd like to do at least what I did last year. They're not winners. They're not pushers. They're not drivers. I lose you?
Yeah, there you go. I can hear you now. I lost you for a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
Okay, cool. So there's a lot of people out there coasting, by the way. By the way, is that just because they don't know any different, or do you think that's really their goal?
I think that they aren't empowered and they haven't found what gives them unlimited energy. I think that's the real reason why people coast. They'll do things they'll work for money, which is the biggest mistake. But I feel like if you're doing something you don't love, you're going to coast to ride a paycheck. But if you do something that you're passionate about and you lead with that first, your vision will carry you to unlimited energy. I'm sorry to go too deep, but
No. I'm not. By the way, I think we have some similarity in that thought set and mindset. I'm actually a believer that there's probably, I think in life, man, you're gonna have to do a lot of shit you don't love doing.
of course.
And I think that's gonna, when I think, by the way, I love the thought because I actually used to say that a lot until I came to a realization. This is not to change or disagree. It's more so the realization that I had was I used to like, man, dude, this sucks. I hate what I'm doing. I used to be frustrated and I would get upset about things a lot because I was really not fulfilling anything. I was just kind of grinding through the days.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I just kind of like, it hit me that the point wasn't that I didn't enjoy what I was doing. It was more so I didn't really know where I wanted to go.
Of course.
And because I didn't know where I wanted to go, any work would have been not fun for me. Anything. It didn't matter if it was doing things that maybe excited me or not. It would have not been fun. But when you realize where you want to go, then it doesn't really matter what's going to get you there.
Agreed.
Because you understand that there's a destination.
Agreed.
I think that's the problem, though. I think that's where people miss it. They're like, I really don't like what I'm doing. I hate my job. I hate my life. I'm grinding all day. But it's not because you're grinding. It's because you got nowhere to fucking go.
Well, if you're because what's the job description of every company? Room to grow. And then everybody says, well, I hit my peak with this person at this job, with this, my spouse, with my friends, and I couldn't get to the next level. And then I find a lot of depression comes from that.
I think by the way, I think there's a lot of people out there in that position just because they've settled and they don't believe that there's other opportunities out there. Because I truly believe that there are companies out there right now looking for good people, and there's a lot of good people at some company that they hate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I think about like me personally right now. I'm trying to hire some people to fill some positions, and I'm very, very selective in the roles. I really don't like people that come to me and say, I have 30 years of experience. Unless I'm hiring you as a COO, CFO, a C-level, then that makes sense, right, to me, because I want you to know the difference. But if I'm hiring somebody who's going to get something done, like right now I'm trying to hire a new videographer for some things, and, I've got like 5 people, and they're all thinking that they're so good. And I'm like, I really don't need a guy who's really good, because the truth is I'm going to give you potential to grow here, and I want you to learn with me. Kind of a weird thought, but it's because I want to help somebody get to the next level. I don't want to help people that think they made it.
Yeah. My model is I don't hire people with a lot of experience. I'm very similar. It's interesting how you do it, because it's harder at the beginning, but it's the same approach you take with your clients. You don't want clients that come to you and say, hey, I know it all. You want clients that come to you and actually want to learn and be proactive. Same thing with your employees. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting mentality. It's probably how you've been your whole life, in all honesty. Give the underdog a shot.
Yeah. By the way, I love bringing people into our organization and saying, there's a big picture here. You at least meet the criteria to get the job. You're not overqualified. You're not underqualified. I want to help you build something big. And
absolutely.
I think that there's companies out there that don't think that way. And typically those are what we would call, governmental agencies or bureaucratic agencies that have made these, this is the hierarchy of the world and shit. Like, I don't think that's the way businesses grow anymore. I think the way you grow is by inspiring people to produce an outcome that produces a huge result, which is whatever we're going for, to go to the moon, right? Tell my team that every day. We're going to the moon, guys. We're going to help billions of people keep and grow their money, 5 million to be exact. We're going to have 5 million people keep and grow their money, and we're going to do it through these strategies. And if you want to go to the moon with me, let's go, right? And it seems, by the way, Yair, I think you and I could probably work together at a deeper level, because we seem to have a lot of the similar
mindset. Yeah,
it's funny, right? It's crazy how that works.
It's funny. Yeah. It's from all different walks of life. It's that same mentality, and if you keep that in your heart, that's why you have so much energy. I've seen you on the interview. You're ready. You're raging. You're ready to go.
By the way, it's funny, but people would think that I do have a lot of energy. I get it, because I optimize my health. But at the same token, this gets me energized.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say you have a lot. I would say you're optimized at all moments. You're an efficiency junkie. I got some good efficiency tips for you if you need them.
Let's go. Give them to me. Let's
all right.
The audience. Give it all of us.
You ready? All right. There's some uncomfortable and there's some comfortable. Do you want the uncomfortable and the comfortable?
Bro, I live uncomfortable. Let's go.
All right. If we have to edit it, I get it. Number 1, switch from toilet paper to the bidet.
Dude, I want one. I've been talking to my wife about it.
I'm sending one. That's on the way. Sending you a portable coming on the way. When you're ready to commit to full time, getting you one that installs. That's my number one. I just saved you 20 minutes a day, at least.
I'm being serious though. I've been telling my wife about this bidet thing. We did like a retreat a few months ago, and we went to this place, and then they were talking it up, and I was just like, dude, I gotta get me a freaking bidet.
That's it. All right, it's on your way. It's on the
All right,
way.
everybody, hold on. Rule number one, everyone, get a bidet. All right,
Get the portable if you can't commit to the full time. And we're right now in the process of closing on a new apartment in Manhattan, and we looked, and the first thing I do, everyone flushes the toilet. I don't flush the toilet. I look where I can install my bidet. That's the first thing I look for. If it doesn't meet that criteria, we're going. I don't want this French toilet nonsense. I want the real thing. That's one. Criteria one. Number two, I'm a big believer that, and here's an easy one, and this is an easy one to do. On Zoom or when you're doing videos, turn off the view of yourself. The neuroscientist I learned this from said you will be 30% more efficient during your meetings if you hide self-view on Zoom, and 30% less tired at the end of the meetings. We are not programmed to stare at ourselves in the mirror. We're programmed to have conversations. So hide self-view is my second one. Easy.
Dude, that is okay. Now that is an interesting perspective.
Huge.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna try that. By the way, I'm gonna try that. That's a good one.
It's an easy one. It's easy and you'll love it. You'll never go back.
All right.
I can go forever. But number three, which is a hard one, and if anyone's gonna do it, you gotta hold it for 24 hours. That's my requirement. Put your phone on grayscale. So
I do that at night.
You do that at night. Try during the day. So there's teams at Google, Apple, Facebook, teams of neuroscientists that all they do is they engage light and they track your mind. They hold your attention all the time. So if you watch, there's a very popular show that my one of my babies loved, Cocomelon. What did they do all day? Shooting light in your child's eyes with laughter and giggles and all this stuff. And they're shooting light. And my son, when you turn it off, it's like the world is over. Our phones do that to us. Facebook, Instagram, all that do it to us. You put your phone on grayscale, the average person spends 1 hour less a day on their phones.
Dude, that is a great idea. Because at night, actually, I have it set that at 9 o'clock my phone goes grayscale. And I have actually I have some glasses that I wear at night, the yellow lens, so for the blue lights and things, and I use those as well. So
yeah, absolutely, you can't sleep well without it. Huge.
Yeah, you got to because the melatonin is being suppressed at that point. So wow, that's pretty good. I like the idea. I'm gonna do it right now. Go on.
All right, you ready? I'll walk you through it. You have an iPhone?
No, I already know how to do it. You guys know how because I do this. I just want to know what's the next one from you. You got another one for me?
All right, hide self-view is an easy one. The bidet is an easy one. What else do I got?
There it is.
Done, right? How do you feel about your phone right now? Don't care for it, right?
Well, it's annoying. Well, I haven't gone to Facebook or anything, so I wouldn't know yet, right? Because once I go there, it's gonna that's when it's gonna get annoying when I can't see the colors, the vibrance of the videos and things. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I like the idea.
You're hiring a new video person. Let him deal with the colors. You don't have to deal with the colors.
By the way, that amen to this. This is exactly what I'm trying to do. By the way, but go on.
Let that, yeah, outsource. It's smart. It's genius.
Yeah,
it's genius. I mean, there's a lot. Exercising, obviously, in the morning is key. I do like the Manscaped. I know it's offered a lot, and they're marketing it like crazy. The Manscaped is solid. The Slumber Pod is very good.
What do you think about cold plunge?
Cold plunge is I've done it, and my brother owns a powerlifting gym, and he has a cold plunge. It's what they're talking about is probably one of the best for your health new items out there in the world. So the cold plunge, but you got to do it for about 3 to 5 minutes. Going in and running out doesn't do it for you. So when I was in the Army, what I used to do is, it's really interesting because I was in like the desert. I lived in the middle of nowhere. It was like in the middle of nowhere and deserts get really cold at night. So what you do is you take a hot shower, and at the end, you change it to cold very quickly. and you stay in there for about a minute, and it'll close your pores and it'll keep all the heat inside. So you can go outside in the snow and you'd be fine for like half an hour.
Wow.
So it's huge. The cold plunge is huge. That's the trick. That's the trick. So when you cold plunge, or you go from hot and then switch yourself immediately to cold, it actually helps you sleep.
Yeah. I've kind of learned a little bit about it. Actually, my cold plunge gets delivered today.
Nice.
So I'm excited for it.
It's tough. It's really tough.
I didn't know we were going to go this route, but I'm like really big into these things, by the way, like life hacks, health and wellness. Like, so what you're speaking is my language.
Yeah, no, I've been getting much more to like quality of sleep and hours of sleep. That's been really interesting.
I've been trying to be very truthful, but my schedule is really rough right now. I'm kind of in this really explosive mode in growth, and I've got a lot of projects going. So I usually don't turn into bed till about 9:30. I fall asleep at 10, and I'm up at 4 a.m. every day.
Yeah, but if you're over 7 hours, you're good.
I'm not. I'm at 6. But I track my sleep. I use this Aura ring.
Yeah.
And I'm in the range. Like, I look at the quality versus the quantity, and I can get, when I feel like I didn't get enough, I can tell. And it's really good to track it. At least I know what I'm losing on, but I am getting sleep. I'm not sleeping.
They're not.
Probably, I can use another hour. I know I could, but that hour is very valuable to me right now. Right now. So
I gotcha. Yeah, it's a funny thing. When I was in the Army, they would cap your sleep, because what I've seen is that when you're over 7 hours, you can make big decisions. And in the Army, they stop you either for 5 hours or 6 hours, but you can't make decisions. The Army, you're just supposed to be a doer. You're not supposed to think. So if you give somebody too much time, they're going to make decisions. They're not going to follow orders. Not going to do what you're telling them to do. That's been that's my story.
I would never have thought that. That is I'm going to tell all my staff they need to sleep more so they can actually do some shit.
Schedule. Grayscale in the office, except for the video guy. The poor guy is the only one that's glued to his phone. Everybody else, we're grayscale.
That was
everywhere.
The grayscale is such a great, simple hack. By the way, I think it's a simple hack. It's not that even that hard to do.
No, there's little things. There's also like not multitasking, how to like setting scheduled like half hour, answer your email for half hour. That's very hard. I'm working on that. That's challenging.
The biggest challenge that I face, and by the way, because we got so many clients, I'm sure they're looking for you, things that we got going and in partnerships and things. My calendar's first off super booked, so that I don't have a problem meeting calendars things because that's easy. The email though, I'm constantly checking it because I'm always afraid to miss something. And even though I have 2 assistants, I love them to death, and they do a damn good job, the problem is I'm still thinking about it. And I'm like, why do I think about this? It's so frustrating.
Yeah, because you're not scheduled. I don't want to tell you how to run your life, but it's the scheduling for calendar time, for email time.
No, I get it. No, I know what I'm not doing. I think really what it is, and maybe you've been there, or maybe you're experiencing it, is I don't believe I'm stressed. Like, I don't really get a lot of stress. Like, stress would probably keep me up at night. I think I have a high level of anxiety to deliver on my promises. That doesn't keep me up. However, what it does though, it always makes me think about things.
100%. 100%.
I don't know if you're that way, or maybe
I know exactly what you mean. I've been working on it for a very long time. I've set some. That's where we get into that pattern of needing of wanting to constantly deliver for people and never letting anybody down. Is very, very important to understand. And that's I don't want to psychology you, because I'm definitely not a psychologist, but that pattern is important. And that's why you're good. That's why you're good.
Well, I know that, by the way. I think there's a level of anxiety or anxiousness. There's a level of paranoia that I think I live in, and I think every successful person does. I don't think that that's a bad habit, a bad quality to actually have. But I think when we're in this type of line of business, we have to, because a lot of things are deadline oriented. deliverable oriented versus, maybe other industries don't have this type of pressure. But
Absolutely.
I actually enjoy it because it makes me show up every day. It makes me become the best version of myself every day. And by the way, by you sharing these things with us and my audience, and everybody, I think what's really cool about what you're saying is that you take you have a deep sense of responsibility to deliver, so you take care of yourself. You have a deep sense of responsibility to deliver, so you study your craft. You're always improving upon it, which is really good, man. I mean, very rarely do I find anybody in any space doing what you're doing. So, I
Yeah,
mean, congrats, man.
I appreciate that. No, I got a great piece of advice from a friend of mine, forensic accountant, one of the most successful forensic accountants in the world. And he told me, I said, the constant line of, oh, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my time. He goes, if you can change the trajectory of someone's life that's on a downhill and bring it from downhill to uphill, and they then can impact themselves and family, their community, everybody around them, that's a pretty damn good hour. If you can do that, that's powerful.
Correct. I actually believe that. I think that's why, by the way, that it's our responsibility to give away content and to produce information that could benefit people. Because what I've learned, and this is probably a case in your case, is that we have limited time. And so what I'm trying to do now at this point in my life is leverage my time, right? So that's why these type of, interviews like this is good for our audiences, because they get the exposure of the thoughts, the concepts, and the ideas without us actually physically having to be in front of them. And then if that inspires them to make a change or take action or invest or not invest or it's like, that's what we're here to put. I think in this book, I wrote one of my best statements that I really enjoy saying all the time is like, I want to leave this world better than I found it. I want that to be written on my tombstone. Like, I left the world better than I found it, because the majority of people are here to exist. I don't want to exist, man. I want people to write about me and say, this guy did something, rather than just lived. Like,
You inspire the world. You inspire the movement. It's deep. It's much more than yourself.
I see. I always think about this is just going everywhere, but I always think about how many funerals have you been to where people get up at the end and they're just like, he was such a good guy and beautiful person, and you're like, I knew that piece of shit.
My grandfather said that about his brother. They were like, yeah, Jack was a great guy, and he goes, who the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. It's like, I'm not saying it because I don't like people. I'm just like, I mean, I can't believe how many people get to die today and didn't even produce anything, didn't fulfill, didn't leave an impact, didn't make it, didn't do anything that was of relevance. And they had a whole lifetime to do it. Even if the lifetime was 10 years, 40 years, 70 years, or 100 years, like, whatever we're given, we might as well make something of it.
You have to. That was the whole thing with David, with King David. He was taken 70 years. He was taken from I think it was Adam, but I'm not. My dad's more religious than me. My office is more religious than me. But Adam took 70 years and said, this is somebody that's going to be impactful. And when he took 70 years of his 1,000-year life, or whatever that was, and gave it to him, and he was the most famous king across all kings in history. There isn't a king that anybody talks about more. And it's all about the time. It's all about the time you're given, and there is time. There's a lot of time out there, but just doing and everyday doing and setting up guardrails to protect yourself and as you say, efficiency.
Well, let's talk about that. Now let's transition back to this planning. How far out do you typically plan for somebody? When somebody comes to you, do you give them a defined date? Do they give you the defined date? Do you do some people say, I don't even have a date? What's the deal? Like, what are you thinking about?
We try to get the date down just so we can have our software and our tools kind of project out somebody's financial life. But the dates are always changing. So you have somebody who all of a sudden, for example, Warren Buffett made 95% of his money over the age of 65. So if he said, hey, I want to retire by 65, all of a sudden he's missing out on some money. So he isn't looking to retire. He loves what he does. All these people are taking on new objectives. So we're constantly changing it. But that's where you have the long-term relationship view. If you're transactional, we set a date. How can we get to that? You're done. But if we're looking for long-term, that's really the key.
Well, so what's the typical age these days for somebody you're planning for?
I find it our average client is about 40. Our average client's 40, and they're looking to make a change. They got through most of our clients. We have like a requirement that no schmucks, those are not allowed on the menu. No coasters. You have to be looking to push yourself to the next level, and you have to look to engage and to do more and to give and to put your heart into this. I find that typically anywhere between 30 to 50 years old are people who are doing that. That's typically where I'm finding that. And then also because they relate to me. I brought my father into the business about 5-6 years ago. So he was in a hedge fund. I brought him out. I recruited him out of the hedge fund to come and work with me. So we have that son-father business, which has been great. And it's a deep relationship to spend time with your dad every day. And that's part of like living your life to the fullest. I love being with my parents. I love being with my family. And I love my work. So why not bring my family to my work and then connect with other families? So it's like family-oriented, responsible people.
It's interesting though. Is that? I mean, obviously, every ethnicity has that, or every family group or niche has that. But I find that very powerful in the Jewish community. Is that true?
The Jewish community ran a very interesting trajectory of life, and there was a crystallization in the Jewish community via the Holocaust, via persecution, via the anti-Semitism, via all this stuff, and when like, for example, the Hasidic community has only been in the U.S. for 2 generations. People think, oh, they have all this money, but they built it through lifetimes. It's only the 2nd generation that a lot of them came from, like Hungary and Poland. So, but because there was a lot of oppression against us, the defining and everybody kind of uniting and working with each other is really, really big. I also think prayer is huge, and going to synagogue and having the community desire is enormous. So I find that really powerful. And that's, I think, I would say it's because it's Jewish. I think it's because of the actions that we take that we're very united.
Well, by the way, with that being said, do you feel like that is still as strong as it was, let's say, 20 years ago?
I would say for the religious, it is. For the people that believe there's something above them, it is. For the people who don't believe, the spiritual people, I agree, yes. The non-spiritual, and they believe that they're on this earth, they die, and they're done, I don't think it is as much.
I only ask that because, I serve a lot of types of clients, and I don't mean just from income levels, but also from jobs, but also ethnicities, and also, so when I encounter, one of the things that I encounter the most of is immigrants. Okay, I get immigrants, so first generation immigrant. It's a first generation Indian, Asian Indian, first generation, Israeli or Pakistani or even Mexican, like wherever they're from. First generation U.S. families, they are the hardest freaking working people alive. Like, they work harder. They're faith-based. They have traditions. They do all these things, and their community is freaking strong as hell. You can't separate them.
Absolutely.
But if you look at the American community that's been here generations, people who have migrated here but are 5 generations deep, it's so fragmented, it's so segmented, it's no harmony, no community. And I'm like, is it because they're immigrants? Is it their faith? And you are illustrating this. You're saying it's faith-based in some respects. I think that's true.
I think it's also true. I think the immigrant part, and it's faith-based, is not necessarily God-believing. There's a lot of, it's culture. It's culture. I also think for an immigrant to come here, you have to primarily be sponsored. So somebody has to take a hit to make sure that you're coming here and setting you up and getting you going. So the people that are being brought in are typically family. So my wife is in a very small sect in Iran, the Iranian Jews, and which is, people don't know, actually is the largest Jewish community in any Muslim country in the world, is actually in Iran right now. So people think that there is nothing, but it's huge over there still. There's kosher restaurants. It's amazing. Not anti-Zionist, but not anti-Jewish, which is pretty interesting. But they all came together. They're fully insulated. They support each other. Some of the biggest brands in the world, Effie Jewelry, which is one of the biggest brands, Levion Jewelry, The Hemati, some of these families are the most successful people in the world, and they only hire in their community, and they all live together, and they all marry each other. So much so, which is something I find very bizarre. A lot of my wife's first cousins are married to other first cousins, and you're not talking about people who are 90 years old.
Interesting.
They're very insular, and they all take care of each other. And they always say, if something happened to somebody, they all come in. I have a friend of mine who's he's in the Amish community. And for some reason, and this is what he was telling me, he's Amish, and he was telling me that the Amish community doesn't buy life insurance. And the reason is because the Amish community, something happens to somebody, the rest of the community will come in and support them. So they don't need life insurance.
Interesting. That's that, by the way, and I see that in immigrant communities, they're like that, by the way. Like that is the culture. It's like and one of the first kind of introduction to that I had is one of my first businesses. I had a partner who is Asian Indian, and he was first generation, and he relocated to the States, and he went, I think he was in Kansas, then he moved to where I am in Texas, but that Indian community, when I first was introduced to it, was so strong, like family, unity, support, financially support each other, faithful. It was so cool. And I actually recently connected with a lot of those guys recently again, and it was so fragmented. And I was like, man, this is
what happened. What happened to you? It's the money culture got them. How it's the money culture. It poisons the well. It's the biggest poison because you're chasing after dollars. Your parents made it, and now it's your turn, and you're living in a shadow, and you go through stuff, but because you never had your own defining moment.
Interesting. Well, I think that you sharing that with me is like, it's really enlightening, because when I met my buddy who's from Israel, and his family has immigrated here, and I met the community, and I went to the business, and I saw their partners, and everybody's kind of like family. I'm like, this is strong. Like I admire it. I really do, because it's hard to, I mean, obviously I want to build a community within my own company, but we're like not in alignment in all areas of life. I feel like you guys have like alignments in a lot of areas, which is really cool.
Yeah, we actually, we're hiring, we just hired a few people, not in the Jewish community, but just, we realize that our market is this rags to riches, that people are trying to change their stars, had different circumstances, but work hard and want to change their life and make it better for themselves.
That makes a lot of sense.
I find that to be a better.
Well, this has been, by the way, I know we've gone in different directions. This has been a lot of fun for me. I've had an interesting, I know we're going to work together at some
Absolutely.
level. So for the audience, how can they get a hold of you if they wanted to maybe ask you some questions, maybe even work with you?
Yeah, so we offer free financial consulting, a first session with one of our staff, just a no obligation conversation. They can book directly on our website. We have our calendar links right there. It's KlymanFinancial.com, KLYMAN financial.com. They can also give us a call. Everything is right through our website. That's a big part for us, and that's what we love to do. As I said, as my friend told me, we can help. I guarantee that we will, or I can be sure that we're going to help you during that time. And worst comes to worst, you get good financial advice, and you go on your own, and you have more money. And the only thing I recommend is give more money to charity. If we help you make more money and you don't work with us, that's fine. Just give extra money to charity, because there's a lot of people that need it in this country.
Yair, you're Yair.
Don't worry, nice. Could have made it middle.
You definitely have made me think a lot of things differently. I obviously knew we had connected before, but I see you at a different level, man. You're very committed to doing a lot of things, man. Congratulations on all your success, and I hope
Thank you so much.
my squad, my economy builders see that as well. Maybe they look out to you.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. Just to plug on your side, I love what you're doing. There's nothing like creating unique and specific approaches. It's not create an economy, it's create your own economy. It's create an economy that works for you. And that's been kind of your approach. That's not what the marketing machine is telling you. Everyone says, follow me, follow me, follow me, and you'll be successful. You're saying, follow you. And I love that. And that's huge for us.
That's right, man. I think everybody needs to build something that's their own. Don't worry about what's going on in the White House. Worry about what's going on in your house. That's the most important thing,
Absolutely.
right? With economy.
Absolutely.
By the way, for those of you that don't know this, the original kind of definition of economy was from Aristotle. And Aristotle defined an economy as the science of household management. And what was really being said was the resources within a home, how are they managed? It wasn't how does this macro economy work together? It wasn't all these resources out in the world. It was here. And a lot of it's obviously been interpreted in different macro, micro, and different other ways. But the point being is if we always think about what happens here first, then
Yeah,
everything else will take care of itself.
absolutely. It's deep. It's very deep. And it's a lot of love. And it sounds like you built that for yourself and you're trying to replicate it and spread it and make a big impact. And that's
Everybody's
amazing.
got to build it, man. And so, all right, Yair, I really appreciate you being here. If you guys want to connect with him and learn more about the bidets and the and and
One's on
defined benefits plans
the
and
phone
the defined benefits
and
plans.
the defined benefit plans. All right. But thanks, David, for having me on and look forward to having you online.